Dandy's World. I really don't want to make this video. I think Dandy's World sucks. But if I think he sucks, then why am I covering him and his clones? Well, it's because I want to make a Resident Evil inspired game where you don't have a gun. All you have is a knife, which doesn't do any damage. So when you're out of ammo, usually you're not going to use a knife. You want to go around enemies. Dandy's World is just like that, except you don't have a knife either. You just loop around enemies until they lose interest and you can go on your merry way. Usually you only have 3 or 2 hearts depending on the character, but it's kind of similar to Resident Evil's health states. Unlike Dead by Daylight and Forsaken,
my hitbox is way too big.
All the enemies are replaced with brain-dead zombie AI, which is quite possibly better than whatever Forsaken has because they gutted stealth in that game. Fundamentally, Forsaken wasn't made for stealth. See, when this character crouches, he's supposed to go transparent, but he's still incredibly easy to see. This is because you only go semi-transparent, which is still really easy to see. You might say it's a crouching ability, so you're supposed to crouch under something and the transparency is just a bonus. Well, that doesn't really work. This is because, unlike Dead by Daylight, killers are in third person instead of first person, which means their camera will usually be above. If they had a lower or in first person, you could probably hide under things. But since they're not, they could just tilt their camera down and they could see right above you. In first person, you could definitely not see if you're crouching. So, it's just fundamentally flawed that stealth just doesn't work in Forsaken. Of course, as I said earlier, Dandy's World isn't much better. In this community, they're called Twisted, and you loop around them with islands, though they don't really look like islands. But it's just still very easy to lose their line of sight. I mean, some characters even have a speed boost that just makes it too easy. Stealth is immediately removed from the game as soon as you bring in characters like Pebble, who can decrease his own stealth and alert enemies to him. It's even acknowledged by the creators of the game by calling them distractors. Whenever there is someone distracting and running in a big circle without running out of stamina because they're just too fast and they can just outwalk enemies, it's just too easy.
Hello there, I'm Walter Hartwell White. Do you want
candy?
Shake your head up and down to say no. Here you go. Here's
Candies are a form of consumable in this game, and the character Yada drops them every time she gets hit. There's various types of consumables in this game, but mostly are candy, which give small increases to different stats. But most of the time you just want to pick up the yellow one, because their speed increases. There is also items like soda that increase your stamina when you're low, so you can keep on running. There are also smoke bombs that help you hide for a few seconds. And there's the box of chocolates, which increases your movement speed, but it comes with 5 uses, and if you take them all at the same time, you become the Wally West of Dandy's World. Also, shout out to the time I was playing on my phone, and I missed the analog stick, so I got hit. Never play on classic joystick, guys. You're gonna miss your analog stick, and you're gonna take a hit because of it. Once I made it to the elevator, I switched to dynamic controls instead. That's about all I could say for Dandy's World. It's in alpha, it's basic, it's simple, the AI is basic, it's simple. But what I do have to say is that the mobile layout is kind of weird for Dandy's World. And by that I mean, when you're doing skill checks, you have to press a button in the center, which is kind of weird, because if you're on a phone like mine, where it's like a big square, your hands are to the side, but then you have to reach your finger out or your thumb out to hit the button in the middle. I don't know why they couldn't place it closer to the sprint button on the right. Because, you know, that's where your thumb is going to be resting, to the sides, not in the center. And that was Dandy's World. I know this video, unlike the previous, is more about Dandy's World, as in, that's the whole focus than like a bunch of games. But I didn't go in depth with it really anyways, because you could probably understand it by yourself. Next up's Dolly's Factory, which has the biggest power creep I've ever seen. And I mean it, you'll never believe how easy the game is when you're playing with a group. Let's take a look at Coda. She can become invincible for 10 whole seconds, which is a very long time. But let's take a look at Connie from Dandy's World. She can become invisible for 5 seconds, but her movement speed is only 1 star, which makes it so that instead of running away, she'll be using her invisibility. Coda, on the other hand, has middling speed but less stealth. So you could work on a generator, which he has a very good efficiency, and go invincible while working the generator, and it doesn't really matter. You might also notice that she grants a damage reduction. This is because Dolly's factory only uses health bars, which makes the game way too easy. There's also characters like Jelly Bell, which stuns and heals at the same time, which is kind of crazy. There's also Jinx, that acts like Danny's World's Blot, but instead of just placing a decoy that attracts enemies, when enemies come near the decoy, they get teleported to the other side of the map, which is also super broken. Also characters like Queenie, Triton, who can also just make a wall and also give you damage reduction for some reason. Can't forget about Doug either, who could just become invincible as well. Can't forget about the Stitch Heart too. Trinket, probably the strongest trinket in the entire game. And it only ever gets better the longer you play this game, which is absolute insanity. The more zones you survive or the next floor you get to, it'll eventually upgrade. Let's say you are at 25 health. 5 HP isn't a lot, but when you're healing 15 every round, that's kind of crazy. Danny's World is kind of, similar. There's the remote that lets you instantly finish a generator, but until you unlock it, there's the wrench that lets you pretty much do the same thing. You turn maybe 8 seconds of working into maybe like 3. But the difference between the remote and the wrench isn't just that it's stronger, but it's the fact that it's harder to get. The wrench can be bought at the shop where you can buy other trinkets that aren't too strong but aren't that bad either. The remote, however, has to be grinded off from one of the main characters, which takes a very long time. Not only are main characters rare, but they also take forever to get research. This is because research capsules only give you 1% research every time you pick one up. Only 2 capsules spawn per character on a given floor, which means you'll have to find them about 50 times. That is unless you play as Roger, who gives you double the amount. On top of that, if you get chased, you'll gain 5% research, which is 10 if you play as Roger. But again, that is if you get chased, which means if there's someone distracting and you don't get chased all that often, then you won't be getting that much research. To the actual gameplay of Dolly's Factory, well, it's pretty much the same as Danny's World, but this time 2 people can work on a generator, which is kind of a nice bonus. There's also more of a soundtrack for once, as Danny's World only has like 2 songs that play ever. There's also music when you're in the safe zone, which is also present in Danny's World, but I'm pretty sure this one's completely original. To add on to how easy this game is, if you have in-game currency that you don't want to use to buy characters or skins or trinkets, you can use them to revive your partners, which I think is a first for all of these types of games. Do you remember when I was talking about Dead by Daylight earlier in the video? Well, pallets show up and you can end any chase anytime, and on top of that, these pallets are infinitely reusable, which means you can survive forever with them pretty much. The pallets are so good that they put them in places where enemies just can't go around them, and since they can't break it either, it's just a free life pretty much. They also added these sort of boss battle rounds every now and then to spice up the gameplay, but they're not very hard either, but they do have nice animations beforehand. Also, nice TF2 soundbite. There's also this mode where you have to bring parts back to the train because sometimes it breaks down, so it's nice to know that they're spreading out from Danny's World, so they're not a complete clone. And that was Dolly's Factory. It's very, very similar to Danny's World, but it's not a complete one-to-one. It's very much easier for children. Next up is Twilight Zone. This is one that I just found randomly while just looking at my recommendations. Twilight Zone has a drastically different layout from the other two games, and it makes the game slightly more difficult. And by slightly, I mean I couldn't even get past like the 3rd floor. As far as I know, the 1st floor is always the same layout, so you can get to the generator in like half a second, because the 2 generators are right next to each other. As with the other 2 games, the skill checks are the same, it's just press the button at the right time. Also, you guys should just see this clip. How is that fair? The lobby is also kind of cool. There's these paintings of all the characters and their spirited versions. And a minor nitpick, but these lobby icons look like Sprunky characters, I'm sorry. Also, I wasn't kidding when I said I can only reach floor 3. And trust me, that's far below any of the other games I've tried. The reason you can't loop enemies around small objects like any other game is because their AI is built a little different. They'll check the last place they saw you when you go out of their sight. That means you're gonna have to move out of your hiding spot, which means they'll just see you again. Or they'll just see you where you are hiding. To combat this, however, there are now lockers that you can hide in, but they only work when you're not being seen. So the eye marker on the top will become a cross when you are able to hide. If you hide too early or if they still see you, then it's not gonna work. I think a big problem is that the place is just too big. There's a lot of hallways and it gets hard to find where the machines are compared to Danny's World, where it's a big open area. Not to mention these rooms, so you have to look for which doors are open and which doors are closed, and there's not a lot of ways to tell where you are in the map. The whole time, all you'll be seeing is this winding hallway, and when you turn, it's another winding hallway until you finally get to the center where there's a different set piece. Even then on the center, all you're gonna see is just a couple chairs and then winding hallways. That's it. And that was Twilight Zone. I personally didn't like it. I mean, it could be good to other people who like stealth more than trying to run away and survive, but that wasn't me. Thanks to its low player count, it's pretty hard to get a full lobby, which was also probably a good reason why I couldn't make it out like the 3rd floor. Most players will be familiar with Danny's World when they come to this game and will be more prone to running around to try and loop the spirits than to use the closets to be stealthy. Before we talk about my favorite game of them all, by far, Tropical Land, I want to talk about something else called Anchored. I kind of don't like this game. It's kind of edgy with all its dialogue, and I don't really like it.
Off you go. Don't get yourself killed.
I mean, mixed with its cutesy art style and then just weird, edgy jokes, it just feels weird. I mean, the gameplay itself is fine, but I don't know, it's just weird. The reason why I'm talking about this so little is because my gameplay got corrupted or something, and it refused to send from my PC to my phone, where I edit my videos. Anyways, Tropical Land. Out of the whole Roblox genre, I think Tropical Land has the best atmosphere. I mean, just listen to it. Now, the music isn't original by any means, but it's still really good and it's not even out of place at all. Beneath the Dread Moon is probably my favorite one, and it only plays during the opening cutscene if you don't skip it. Most floors have triggers that once you pass them, a certain sound will play. I also really like the enemy character designs. They look like their original selves, but just more gritty, a little bit less saturated and a little darker. The only character that's different from their original selves is Nurse Catherine, which is a hulking beast. If she loses sight of you, she'll place a bear trap whenever you're out of chase. She's also too fast to loop around small objects, so to counter it, she breathes so loud that you can hear her coming. All things considered, that's actually a pretty good idea to add in. In this game, you use Tropic Coins to buy characters, but there's only 5, so they're kind of useless. But in Run, you have documents, but they're also kind of useless as there's no in-game shop yet. The only reason to use documents is if you're playing a character that uses an ability that needs it. Sylvia drops a bandana that distracts enemies for some reason. Her ability description says it's because she's dropping an expensive headscarf, which I mean, yeah, I guess if you drop a Gucci or a Supreme, I guess people will look at it. I think I lost the audio file for whatever was supposed to go in this section, but yeah, I guess I'm just here to fill in the space. Yeah, sorry about that. The game itself is already just barely in its early stages too, so it's very impressive what they've got for 0.02. Well, actually, we're on 0.03, but nothing has really changed since the other update, since all we added was items and a remodel. Speaking of which, here's the developer note. I really hope this game and its developer sees more attraction, because this game barely gets about 100 players at a time. Not to say I don't have my grievances here too. Lulu, for example, is just an easier version of Sylvia because she has a lesser cooldown and she doesn't use documents. Also, Sylvia's a bird. Couldn't you have made Lulu a skunk or something? That'd make more sense than using perfume to stun them. Also, Lulu just has weird hit dialogue. What is this line? I dislike imperfections? Sylvia, being this rich lady, obviously cares about her image and complains when you damage her. Even on her alternate line, she complains about her suit being damaged. Tia will also say ouch. Milo will scream in pain. Nurse Catherine only has 2 lives. Despite this, whenever she gets hit, she says she's fine. Despite, you know, being at death's door anytime she gets hit. Her other line is also funny because, you're half dead, lady. There's just 2 more things I want to complain about. One of them being palettes, because they make a return here too. When the developer said that certain animations were unfinished or unpolished, I think most of what he was talking about were palettes, because the only ones that actively work is Tia and Milo, as far as I'm aware. My biggest problem is that they're too rare. In Dolly's factory, there was an overabundance. There was like 5 of them. You could hit them back up and reuse them as many times as you want. Here, once you stun them, they'll break it. And there's only about 2 of them at maximum. Most of the time there's 0, and it's very hard once you get to the later floors, like 20, or as I've gotten to, like 31, and there's just like none of them. The second problem is generators. Every quarter of the way you finish it is a skill check instead of being a random chance. And unlike other games, the progress bar won't finish while you're doing the skill check. Which means those toolboxes that increase your repair speed kind of don't matter because they'll just run out while you're waiting to do the skill check. Notice how it only happens as soon as I hit halfway. Then once I get to 3/4 of the way, it happens again perfectly. Then it happens here. 1/4 of the way. Halfway. 3/4, and nothing until it's done. So I don't know what the best use case for these toolboxes are, unless you want to just speed up to the next quarter. And I don't even know if the toolbox is worth carrying for its 1.5 speed when using a generator, since it's just going to run out by the time you finish the puzzle. I know I didn't give Anchor a fair chance. I know I can't send the footage to my phone. I can at least try to just record my computer screen. So here's this thing that I was talking about, the edginess. Look at the dialogue at the bottom of the screen. Another stop in this endless climb. Like, we're playing as white balls. And they talk about forklift certified like it's 2019. And then like 10 seconds later, we're having a boss fight where we're in 0 gravity. And the thing is, the boss fights are actually pretty good. I like them. I mean, flying around doing the panels, and the panel minigames are kind of like fun. I wouldn't say fun because they're, you know, easy puzzles. There was also this boss where you just kind of punch a red force field, and it looks really funny. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I don't like this game. Okay, that was enough from that section. What is there to take away from this? Well, my game is inspired by Resident Evil and Metal Gear Solid, which mostly take place indoors, sometimes a little bit of an outdoor field, but if you're looping around a table, they're gonna jump over it, they're gonna knock chairs over. You're not gonna be able to loop forever. Level interactivity matters. Things like throwing down pallets, throwing chairs yourselves, anything to block the enemy from getting to you. Even when it comes to a mobile game, having interactive pieces matter. Things like crawling under tables and more. Finally, make being detected not suck. You get caught, you're bound to take damage, but in this game, enemies stand still for just a few seconds before they can start running at you. And when they're standing still, you won't take damage if you run right through them. Notice how the Milo is standing still. I'm able to run right through them before he starts to run at me too. In something like Danny's World, I would have gotten hit immediately. And those are my takeaways, but there's still one more video left to be done. In early 2000s, Metal Gear Solid had a mobile game for the N-Gage, and what better way to make a Metal Gear Solid inspired game on the phone than to play Metal Gear Solid Mobile. The third and final video of mine will be the blueprints for my game, using Metal Gear Solid Mobile as a base.